So most of you probably know at this point that I don't really care too much for things like cloud gaming or remote play, and I don't really think that's a hot take. Most people still tend to prefer playing their games locally, and for me, where I have a full game collection, I like having games on disc. You know, big shocker, what does that say about me? But it's not like I'm totally adverse to where we might be headed in the future. Not saying it's anytime soon, but, you know, I've tried streaming, I've tried remote play, but if I'm being honest, I still just would not genuinely play games like that often in my spare time. So I figured, let's change that, and for remote play specifically on PS5, that's how I'll play games exclusively for one full week, and I'll try a variety of titles. I'll try it under different conditions, and so here's how this experiment goes, or how it's going to go. Alright, so just starting us off, we'll talk about what I'm working with here. So this is my personal phone, iPhone 13 Pro Max, decent sized display. I can actually see what's going on that thing, and we'll pair that with a DualSense controller, and of course a little $15, $20 plasticky phone mount, which this one, in hindsight, I would not have bought because it's a solid color, as in when it's on the DualSense, you can't see because it blocks the light bar, so you can't tell if the controller is on or off. Really dumb move on my part, so just keep in mind that if you buy these things, try to get one where it doesn't completely obscure the indicators on the controller. And then I'll mix my playtime in on an iPad mini 6th gen, which I always prefer the mini. It's not as unwieldy as like the 9.7 inch or the iPad Pro, but this should make it a lot more comfortable to play games. The big problem that is often overlooked with remote play or playing console games on smaller screens, it's not just the input latency or the picture quality, but it's the fact that UI elements on those games are not meant to be played on such small screens. It's really uncomfortable, so iPad mini should help that out a lot. And then also, which is a pretty notable remote play device, Backbone was also kind enough to send over the PlayStation edition of the Backbone 1. So we'll also give this a shot and take a look at it right now. So for the Backbone, this is certainly something where it's a purpose-built device. You're only going to be using this for either remote play, or you could also just play standard mobile games that have controller support, and at least in that situation, it's going to feel like local play. But if you're doing remote play, then that's fine too. And the PlayStation edition dropped recently, so it's not a massive departure from the other one that they sell, where it's black. This is just more or less mimicking the PS5 design language. But I'll be interested to at least give it a shot and see if I prefer this over using a DualSense with the phone clip. Now, right off the bat, kind of a small benefit, but, when you're in the same room as your PS5, you can free up the TV and play something else, right, for background noise. So, and this is good because, it's always fun when I get to incorporate my backlog with a video that I'm working on. So I've got a few titles that I want to get to this week, and right now I'm playing Death's Door, which is that kind of like that isometric viewpoint hack and slash. It's got some tough moments, right? And I've got one trophy left where I have to beat the game with the weakest weapon. So I'm certainly going to, put this to the test and not go easy on myself. I've got a few other games that I want to get to, and so we'll see how it turns out. But I would have liked to do 2 weeks, but actually, to date this video, Ragnarok comes out the following Wednesday, so I want to get this done before then, basically. I'm not playing that game via remote play. But, yeah, I'm going to play Death's Door tonight, and I'll keep you updated on what's happening. Alright, new day, and I don't know what it is, but like last night when I was playing Death's Door, I got this insatiable desire out of nowhere to play Bloodborne in the Target parking lot, which, why not, right? But I do have to pick up a few things here, so before I do that, let me try some distance over cellular, and I technically have not started the Old Hunters DLC, might be a good time to try it, so let's give it a shot. Oh, this is this is so bad. This is such a stupid setup. This is so dumb. This looks awful, obviously. Oh, this would be nigh impossible to play. Oh, what a good environment. It's so busy today in this parking lot. This is not good. Right next to a busy boulevard, so there's emergency vehicles. I lost connection to my PS5. Oh, this is a disaster. Okay. That wasn't too bad. Oh, this is awful. And the thing is, if I was home, like, you know, like last night, Death's Door was pretty playable. Didn't have any major hiccups, but the thing that definitely got annoying very quick was the screen size, for sure. That got old quick. There's a lot going on. I want to go back home. So let's talk about what just happened, because when it comes to remotely accessing your games, there's a few things to keep in mind. Of course, generally speaking, you want a fast internet connection, but when you're outside of your home network where you can make a direct connection, that's where there's a key difference to keep in mind. Sony says 5 megabits per second for the upload and download is the minimum, but for a higher quality experience, 15 or more is preferred. When you're out and about, you have to consider the speeds of both your home network and your roaming connection. At home, my download is 300, but my upload is anywhere from 10 to 20 on average. Not great, especially when your upload is important for the console at home. For the remote play device, you're looking for the download to exceed that 15 megabits per second comfortably. Anything less, and you'll probably get my situation. I was just hoping my home network was more in the 20s today. There are a few settings you can adjust in Sony's official iOS app, and these were all set to standard for me, including 540p, which wasn't helping much. So I went back home where, at the very least, if I'm going to play Bloodborne, it's probably best to do it in the same environment. It's only been 30 minutes, and I feel very safe saying I would not want to play this game like this. Now look, I get it. It's not lost on me that I'm doing this right in front of my computer where I could just use remote play on there. But you know, if it wasn't obvious, we're trying to look at what are intended to be mobile devices. An iPad does fall in that category where I know some folks use remote play on this. So I know it looks silly, but I can unsurprisingly report that the larger screen does help, because playing this on iPhone was kind of brutal. Was not having fun with that at all. I'll tell you, it's a good thing that I really over-leveled this character back in the day, because so far I've not been doing very well. But finally made it to the Old Hunters DLC. So for day 3, I just wanted to try focusing on a variety of games, since, let's be real, a week isn't that long, and while I am playing a ton of remote play for this week, I just wanted to get a better idea of what genres work over others for this setup, so I spent all day doing just that, and gave each game about 45 minutes to an hour and a half. Some of the bigger production AAA stuff is victim to what I was talking about earlier. They just weren't made for small screens, so while the field of view looks decent, the menus, subtitles, and HUD are far too small. Horizon did have an accessibility feature for increasing subtitle size, but even that barely helped, and it's only for subtitles. Either way, I still did a quest and played out a pretty large fight without any major hiccups, and same for Tsushima, it looked pretty good, and the general lack of relying on a HUD and menus in that game plays more to its benefit, but it can still be a problem when they do come up. Now, Dirt 5 I could get down with. Looks great, and the UI wasn't too out of position. Plus, racing games make sense in that you spend so much time focused on racing and not much else. This did not feel like a chore to play. Now, playing a puzzle game like Luminous, this is where the latency bothered me. Up until this point, I've been pleasantly surprised by how playable everything has been, and I'll admit I have a higher tolerance, it doesn't bother me that much, but trying to precisely and quickly play out an arcade run on Luminous had me making moves I didn't intend to. Same for Super Stardust, it felt more risky letting rocks get close to me. And this is where I can speak on the backbone a bit more. I'm not a huge fan of the D-pad here. It comes off a bit too mushy for me, and this is totally a preference thing, but considering this is the PlayStation Edition, I prefer a symmetric stick layout. Other than that though, the face buttons are very clicky like a PS Vita or a Joy-Con, which I like, and without a doubt it's the convenience and perspective that do the heavy lifting here. It's plug and play right out of the box and turns your phone into a proper handheld. The phone clip can be tiresome since you have to adjust the angle to your liking, then the whole thing is a bit top heavy if you've got a big phone, you gotta sync the controller. It's more of a hassle with the phone clip, but you do get the DualSense adaptive triggers if you like those, which by the way, it's only the triggers. Haptic feedback is turned off on remote play. I figured I'd come by Terrell's to try his Wi-Fi. That way it's not a cellular connection. We're in his basement right now, the game room. There's his cat right there. And see how this goes. Alright, this is like a lot better. More or less close to what I was getting back home. Here you go, sir. Give it a shot.
Let's see what we got here. Is he covered? Oh, no charge shot. I want the light mosquito shot. That's right. Feel good though. A little bit of delay, but nothing crazy.
I'm not going to front. It does feel very nice. Yeah, pro gamer move over here.
I like parrying.
This DLC took you like what, an hour? It took me like
two.
Took me like a day.
I don't have two.
It straight up took me like a day.
Feel good though. Not gonna lie, better than I thought it would feel.
Like the controller or the latency?
Both. I thought it'd be terrible.
It's a lot better than I thought. I mean, it's always been pretty good, but it's like for me, I would never, like, this would not be my first choice to play games.
No, it's cool though. A little novelty.
Yeah, I spent all night playing Death's Door on this, and like initially I'm like, this is, I didn't want to like switch to the TV, but kind of get used to it. I'm gonna check out Terrell's collection over here. He's got some good stuff going on. He's got some games. What'd you buy recently?
What I picked up recently?
Anything good?
Probably laughing with Bayonetta.
Picking up some SNES stuff. You're not gonna play Bayonetta, are you?
No, it's sealed. No,
You're gonna keep it sealed?
Yeah, I have not touched it. I own it on my PS5 and my PC. I'm not gonna lie to you, I gotta pick up Jack. Just because I wanted it. I got that.
I don't want to look at that. Put that away.
That's when I had to get the complete set.
So gross.
That. Ain't that bad. Yeah, it is that bad, I ain't gonna lie to you. And also picked up 2. Still need 3, which is like
Xenosaga.
$300, which I'm not buying 3.
Yeah, that's like not gonna happen.
Is this where it ends? Get to the middle of the game and stop.
That's not gonna happen.
So I used to the rest of the game because it ain't happening. Yeah, I would if you wanted it. I'm still missing 2. I had it. I beat it. I got rid of it. It's definitely cry. I don't know. It's like pop baby.
Yeah, this was a Thursday, so I record and edit Let's Talk PlayStation on these days. So cellular did not work that well, obviously, but let's say we're still out and about. Maybe we're at a hotel, maybe I'm at McDonald's, which I am, and I just can't be bothered to go home. I have to play Returnal right now. I kind of really want this to work, if I'm being completely honest with myself. I need this to happen right now. Well, you know, it's working a lot better than the cellular. And at least with iOS, you know, you don't really have a choice, right? Like, it's this app. Whereas on Android, there's that PS Play app, Remote Play app, or whatever. It's a third-party app where you can control the bit rate. And I think there's some other settings on there. Obviously, this whole time I've been using iOS devices. Latency is definitely hitting me right now. And I'm on Wi-Fi, so it's a better connection. I am in the parking lot, obviously. I try to be as close to the building as I can, since the dining room's closed right now. But when I was at Terrell's, like, it worked just as good as me being at home, which was perhaps the most surprising thing thus far. It was that it, you know, worked that well. Well, while I try to get this to work, we can at least mention that for remote play, for those that don't use this too often, it's pretty feature complete in terms of, you know, making sure certain things come up that you might be concerned about, right? So you can remotely turn on your PS5. You can also turn it off, obviously, because you have access to your console. So even if your connection times out or something, you know, as long as you can reconnect enough to just turn off your PS5 from the app, that will work. And then let's say you want to play a game and you don't have storage. Now there's a way to manage all the console storage right from the PlayStation app, so that works. You can also push new downloads, so there's enough here for you to like do what you need to do if you don't mind playing this way. And in this case, this is not going to work at all. And I of course, I want to throw Returnal at this. I can't make out what's going on right now. Whoop! Oh my god, I landed on something. Uh-oh. Come on, don't do this to me. There's enemies in here, don't do this to me. I gotta pause. Shit. I know the the overarching theme here with remote play, if we're being serious, right? Like, this isn't a replacement to play games, it's an extension. So if you're traveling, you know, you can work on something while you're away from home. And if it's conducive to the experience, then it would make sense. I just thought this would be fun to try. But clearly, if you don't have a solid connection, shocker, you're not going to have a good time. Also, I would have brought my iPad for this one too, but like, the iPad, I've realized, like, even with the Mini, it's the matter of like finding a good place to put it. Which in the car there is no good place. I'm sure there's a mount of some kind you can buy, but the iPad helps because of the bigger screen. It's putting it somewhere that makes sense from a good viewing angle. That's not, you know, messing up your neck or something. At this point, I've tried a lot of stuff, but I just wanted to have something to show for this, so I kept working on my Death's Door playthrough with the weakest weapon in the game. Melissa. Oh no, I can't reach my phone. My cat's on me. Son of a bitch. Oh, man, I got it. Alright, did the whole game via remote play. And this was an awkward angle to shoot at, so this was like, I don't know, this took quite a bit. So with this wrapping up, let's go over some closing thoughts. My general hierarchy of the devices that I played on, number one would have been iPad, if not for the fact that, you know, I didn't use it much because you have to find a good place to set it down and have good viewing angles, right? So it's always a matter of like finding a good place to put it, and you know, the big screen is always going to win, but that's why I didn't use this much. So behind that would have been, or it is, the backbone, because of the simple fact of how easy to use it is. Plug and play, so simple. It makes the, you know, your screen parallel with the buttons, so it feels like a true handheld device. And so I use this a lot despite me not caring too much about the buttons and the button layout, and that's why it's also so much more convenient versus the phone clip. This is a nice cheap solution, but it's just such a pain to put together. And speaking more on the backbone, because we didn't really go too in depth on this thing, but you know, it's got some simple things that you'd expect. It's got a lightning pass-through to keep charging. It actually gives your iPhone back a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, so that's nice. They've also got a subscription plan for this thing, which you don't need, and I don't really see any value in it whatsoever. But the real concern I always had with this is that it still has a lightning connector, so at least in the EU, this is going to be a problem when USB-C is mandated there. We don't know if Apple's going to either ship iPhones worldwide with USB-C, or because they might not do that, you know what I mean? And if you look at this thing, it's fixed in there. I can't see them offering an adapter for this, especially for the Pro Max models where the phone is so large that there's very little room to add an adapter at the widest setting on this thing. But overall, this wasn't a bad experience. I mean, pleasantly surprised by how manageable it was to go through games. If you've got a very solid connection, if you're, you know, in the same room, it's going to be pretty good, and that is how I primarily played, despite trying to, you know, venture out. Terrell's actually worked really well. I played for a few hours at Terrell's, and you know, the thing is, if games are consistently going to offer accessibility features to adjust field of view and the UI, this would be substantially better. That's the big problem. But if I'm being honest, I'm still going to play games locally in most situations. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you haven't just yet, please consider subscribing for the best PlayStation news, reviews, and updates that are here on YouTube. You can also follow me on Twitter @MysticRyan, and that is it. I will see you all in my next video. You take it easy.